not implausibly in my view, that the human ability to learn is determined by appetites, desires, drives, instincts, and that a learning machine would require something corresponding to a set of appetites. And I said something like, "You see, what I find interesting about that is Julius's suggestion that all these feelings and appetites, as he calls them, are causal and programmable. Even these things which we're so sure, so instinctively certain, must be the preserve of freely choosing and desiring humans, may be isolated. They can be caused, and they have a cause." And Cyril was fascinated. He was listening and nodding. I felt so happy and so peculiarly awful. We went to bed, and in the morning I unthinkingly offered him some money. He was offended and left in a mood. I then discovered £3 missing from my wallet. He could have taken it at any time. I put nothing away. And I wrote to him at the hostel, calling things off. He turned up on the doorstep the next day, very indignant, making obscure threats which I did not take seriously. He mentioned an unlikely-sounding suit hire debt, for £3, of course, and some other outstanding sums, and then ended up asking for another £7, which I reluctantly gave him. A week later, I returned home from the university to find my house broken into. Not much taken, £10 from a drawer, some silver plate. I reported the break-in. The police came to the house and fingerprinted it. I also consulted a solicitor in confidence about the possibility of Cyril blackmailing me, and on his advice again wrote to the boy, breaking things off. Cyril subsequently appeared at my house as before, and this time the threats were not obscure but explicit. He would go to the police, and it would come out about the professor and his chums. We had a row. I mentioned the burglary, and he calmed down and kissed me for the first time, and said that he knew who might have done it, his mate from the Navy. He admitted having boasted of his friendship with me, and I was foolishly flattered. Cyril stayed the night, and I went to the police station in the morning with some information about the likely culprit, and a rather shoddy story about how I'd come by it. The fingerprints, meanwhile, clearly identified Cyril's naval friend, who already had a criminal record and needed little prompting to blab about Cyril's business with me. The king died in the early hours of the day on which 2 very kind police officers paid me a visit. 7 weeks after my arrest, I was found guilty of gross indecency with a male person and sentenced to receive a course of organotherapy, hormone injections, to be delivered at the Royal Infirmary. The physical effects of those injections have been marked. Almost at once I began dreaming. I do not think deeply about Cyril, it turns out, but about others I think as deeply as anyone can. Things seem to be sadly lost, put to bed, left on top of golden summits in the past, trailing away until we see what the lines of event and memory have traced, a plane, a loop that encloses all loss, has no beginning and no end. I wonder about the coming together of events and people that have produced my crisis. If I were to find a mathematical or topological analogy, I suppose that it would be tessellation, where the contours of one form fit perfectly the contours of another. If I had not finished the paper on morphogenesis when I did, I should not have ventured out in search of a reward. If I had not had the upbringing I did have, I should not have thought of sexual relations as a candidate for reward. The very interesting Mr. Escher, whose prints have finally awoken my fellow mathematicians to the possibility of an aesthetics of undecidability, has called this coming together the regular division of the plane. But it is a little more than that, because it is a division that entails change. The world is not atomistic or random.